Welcome to the Kent Lapp Podcast.
If someone's body is not feeling good on carbs, so for me, it's pasta, bread, what else? Like noodles, those types of things, of course.
Yeah.
Here's the truth of the matter. I love a good salad. I mean, I would eat greens if it didn't make me feel bad. I love greens. I'm not like doing this because I also love meat, but I love greens. And I love pasta too, by the way. I just feel really bad on it. It sounds like you're saying, well, you mentioned that's because they have some gut issues. And of course, sure, in the short term, you can feel better by just sticking to, say, meat and cutting out the carbs. But it doesn't sound like that's what you'd want to see that person do long term. So how can they heal that gut and be able to get that gut in a position where they can process carbs properly, good carbs properly?
Right. So let me think if I can get all the different things I wanted to say in response to everything that you just said. So first you began speaking about breads and pastas. Now, many people these days, as you probably know, believe that they are gluten sensitive. Gluten is a part of wheat. I think a lot of people who feel they are gluten sensitive are actually wrong. I would say most of them are wrong. And then they will say to me, well, how can I be wrong? I eat wheat, I feel terrible. I don't eat wheat, I feel fine. Well, it's because if those people would travel to Italy or France or Germany or any other country and eat pasta and bread, they'd feel fine.
Really?
I hear this over and over from my patients.
That is interesting.
Well, it's interesting, but it's also a little bit sad. The wheat crop in this country is pretty much not fit for human consumption.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's not a gluten sensitivity. It's either the genetic distortion of the wheat or the pesticides on the wheat. I don't know what it is, but I know that people go overseas and they can eat wheat. They're fine. So that was the first thing that came into my mind as you were speaking about the foods you don't tolerate. So first we have to get the common intolerances out of the diet. And what I routinely tell people to do is this is from the plant food world, remove wheat, corn, soy, and peanut products. Wheat, corn, soy, and peanut are probably the most notorious of the plant foods for causing sensitivity. Now, This brings up a kind of a complicating issue because if the animal products you're eating are from animals that were raised on corn and soy, you're going to react to those as well.
Yes.
So there's a lot of, as you might imagine, a lot of dietary education that takes place in my office. So you also mentioned that you like salads. If you eat a salad by itself, will you have difficulty?
Yes and no. I would like to eat another one, just a salad, and see how I feel. That is not the most common thing that triggers my gut. And a good example was green beans. As I'm starting to eat meat, I'm starting to make my own food, and I'm kind of enjoying that process because I was never good in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And so a couple weeks ago, I wanted to make some really good green beans, and man, they were really, really good. It was fun making them, but they made me feel a little upset. But it might have been the pesticides on them too.
Could have been. Another possibility, and this is what came to my mind when you mentioned salads, is that there are many people who, and we can get into the different reasons for this, who do not have the enzyme power to break down the food. Now, the most common example of this is people who eat beans and produce excessive gas. And that's probably fairly common, but it's one example of a bigger issue, which is all the different types of enzymes in the digestive system that may be deficient. Now, in our current culture, there's all kinds of stress from people's in people's lives from all kinds of things, whether it's politics or the pandemic or the jobs or families or whatever, stress will disempower the digestive system. Our bodies have two kind of extremes of their functioning in a part of the body called the autonomic nervous system, which is something we're not in control of. And we can be either in this fight, I think we would call it fight, flight, or freeze state when we're stressed out and like deer in the headlights type of thing, or we're in the opposite state, which is a resting, digesting, building tissue, kind of a healing state. And so stress can keep us out of that state so much of the time that we might be able to chew food and swallow it, but once it gets down into our digestive tract, it's not getting burnt up, so to speak, as it needs to be. And so different forms of digestive enzymes can be very, very effective for many, many people to help with that.
Interesting.
But that's not really, I mean, of course, it's valuable, it's not toxic, it's very helpful. But we have to also think about the root of that. Why is the digestive system? What is it about the stress that is keeping the digestive system from doing its work, from producing the enzymes and processing food? And that gets down to this most important pair of glands in our body called the adrenals. Now, the adrenal glands are kind of like our batteries. And when we are asleep at night in deep, restful sleep, our batteries are getting recharged. So life is, we might say, forgive these words, life is meant to be stressful. Life is just stressful inherently.
Mm-hmm.
But ideally, we would get deep sleep at night, and then we're ready for the next day. But if sleep is not happening, then our batteries are not getting recharged and we're spiraling downward.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're remaining more and more of the time in a fight or flight state, and we're not having the digestive power, which comes from the batteries, from the adrenals. We don't have the digestive power to process our food, and then we become sensitive, so to speak, to foods.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, of course, necessarily the foods. So this is like the other side of the coin. We spoke a moment ago about the foods that are actual problems. Then there's the other half of the issue with the body's tolerance of food that actually is healthy, and the body is still not functioning properly.
Sure, that makes sense. Of course. Yeah. And I take a digestive enzyme every night with dinner, and it seems to help. I don't know.